Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I'm officially stealing that soundbite drop in from Cenk Uygur, or Chunk Uygur, Chunk Hunger. I don't know what people are calling him these days. But anyway, everybody, welcome to another Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. And yes, they did indict Alderman Patrick Daley Thompson guilty on all counts. What do you think about that, Oreo? I think Oreo's as excited about it as I am. Let me bring this up. Share my screen. There we go. How about that? Chicago Alderman Patrick Daley Thompson, found guilty in federal tax fraud trial, will be forced to resign immediately. What does that mean? We're going to get into it. We're also waiting on Kit to be able to join us. There were some technical difficulties we were trying to work through in the beginning of before the show started. So hopefully he'll be able to join us. We were backstage before the show started, trying to work out that technical issue, but we didn't want to delay the show. So I'm going to jump into the Patrick Daley Thompson story in the hopes that Kit will be able to join me at some point in it and be able to comment on it. We also have this evening joining us, returning to the show, Mr. Ed Heller.
Yeah, I just hope my mic is working this time.
Your mic works fine now. Your fidelity
great.
is good.
Yeah, okay. I swapped out the same mic for another one I had in a drawer somewhere, and this one apparently still working.
This one sounds better. Yeah, the difference between the other one and this one, the other one sounded like AM radio, and this one sounds like it's got some fidelity to it. So we're good.
Welcome to AM Radio's version of Chicago Corner with your host, Jerry Vasilatos.
And special co-host Ed Heller. So you saw this week.
Yes, I saw that.
We finally got the son of a bitch, but
well,
there's
one of them.
One of them. There are some wrinkles to this story. He is another Daley, and he is disgraced. Let me share, as reported by Mark Conkle at Patch. We actually had a lot of links for this story, but this one just came across my radar before I started the show. So the grandson and nephew of two Chicago mayors will be forced to resign his city council seat after being convicted on felony charges. A federal jury on Monday found Alderman Patrick Daley Thompson guilty of filing false tax returns and lying to investigators about a bank loan. The grandson and nephew of two Chicago mayors will be forced to resign as 11th Ward alderman immediately, as required by state law. Thompson, who lives in the Bridgeport house owned by his grandfather, the late Mayor Richard J. Daley, was elected 11th Ward alderman in 2015. He did not testify in his own defense. The case against Thompson stemmed from money he borrowed from Washington Federal Bank for Savings, a Bridgeport bank that federal officials shut down in 2017. Federal prosecutors said Washington Federal Bank gave Thompson an $89,000 loan without signing paperwork requiring him to pay it back, and the alderman used the money to pay off a mortgage in default. A grand jury also indicted Thompson on charges he lied about how much money he borrowed from Washington Federal to buy a partnership stake in a law firm. The alderman claimed he borrowed $110,000 when the amount he owed was $219,000. Thompson's lawyers argued that the alderman, who also is a commercial real estate attorney, didn't lie to the feds. He simply forgot how much money he had borrowed when being interviewed by the feds and made mistakes on his taxes because he struggles with being disorganized and not paying attention to the details. Can you imagine hearing that as like one of his legal clients or anybody doing business with him where he's supposed to represent your best interests? That's his excuse. Is that how he would handle the work he does for others? But the federal jury didn't buy it. On Monday, after lawyers wrapped up closing arguments, it took less than 5 hours for jurors to find Thompson guilty of 2 counts of lying to federal agents and 5 counts of filing false tax returns claiming bogus mortgage interest deductions. Together, the 7-count conviction carries a maximum sentence of 45 years in prison. But of course, as these things go, Thompson is expected to be sentenced to a lesser sentence, including probation, due to federal sentencing guidelines.
Yeah, how long has he been in office? Since 1969?
Well, what really frosts my ass here is this guy knew he was dirty. He knew he was lying. And instead of stepping down and resigning, so that some other alderman could be appointed in his place to do the business of his ward. Come on, Oreo, we're doing a show here. He just decided to ride it out because that's what Daleys do. I think that's what most of these sociopathic politicians, older people normally do. They think they're going to beat the rap. They think they're untouchable. Yeah, Burke's still in there too. I mean, Burke's probably got more mountains of evidence against him than Patrick Daley Thompson did. I think Patrick Daley Thompson's case was a little bit easier to present.
Hey, let me throw in an interesting fun fact about this. Comes from Becky Vivia of WBEZ. She tweets, since 1969, 36 Chicago aldermen or former aldermen have been convicted of a crime, according to the University of Illinois at Chicago historian and former Chicago alderman Dick Simpson. Thompson is the 37th.
That's a lot of alder people. But that's the culture. That's the culture of Chicago City Council, right? Yeah, it's Chicago town. Art Medina, I don't think or know if older people ever really supervise their wards. That's a good point. When it comes to money, it makes all of us criminal, but this alderman was greedy from the start. Yep. So in the Tribune article that covered this same story, it's another nice image of the disgraced alderman. And this came as reported by John Seidel, Tim Novak, Mitch Dudek, and Fran Spielman. The verdict followed about 2.5 hours of closing arguments, during which Assistant U.S. Attorney Brian Nettles told jurors no one is so big, no one is so important that they can't be held accountable for their criminal conduct. Defense attorney Chris Gare insisted the case was full of reasonable doubt, and he said prosecutors were desperate to convict Patrick Daley Thompson. And of course, he emphasized the Daley. Because of COVID-19 restrictions, Thompson's family had to watch the verdict through a video feed in the building's ceremonial courtroom. His oldest daughter, Nora, burst into tears, wah, and dashed into the hallway. Thompson's wife, Katie, sobbed while she was consoled by her father. It's a shame that the families have to suffer the sins of these utterly horrific and corrupt politicians, but I guess that's just the price of they're willing to pay for doing business. Thompson, viewed via a video screen in the overflow room, had no obvious reaction to the verdict. After court adjourned, he was seen walking from the courtroom to a witness room across the hall. Thompson was later flanked by friends and family as he walked past reporters who tried to ask questions in the courthouse lobby. He had his hands on the shoulders of his wife and daughter as they walked ahead of him outside the building while TV cameras swarmed. "Stop shouting at him. He doesn't have any comment," Garrett told reporters. The defense attorney and former federal prosecutors said, "Extremely disappointed in the verdict. It was wrong, and I'm extremely disappointed in the United States Attorney's Office for bringing this prosecution and for the things it said in the closing argument." Wah. Now, state law requires Thompson to resign his seat on the city council, and you know who's got to fill that seat? Ed?
Lightfoot.
Yep. It's not going to be any kind of an election. She has got to fill that seat. And the clock is now ticking.
How long does she have?
Well, I mean, now the clock is ticking. Now the clock is ticking. Now that he's been indicted. Let me get to that article here, because what was interesting about that. Okay, so and this comes to us from the Daily Line, Aaron Hegarty. With Daley Thompson guilty verdict, clock begins ticking to appoint a new 11th Ward alderman. Mayor Lori Lightfoot is approximately 2 months. I don't know why it should. Well, maybe that's a good amount of time that they want to vet somebody. But if it's Lightfoot, I would imagine that she's got some ideas who she wants to put in there. But she's got 2 months to choose a new alderman of 11th Ward after a federal jury decided Alderman Patrick Daley Thompson is guilty of lying to the feds. The jury announced his decision Monday, blah, blah, blah. We went through that. Now, he's supposed to resign, though, too. I don't know that he's done that yet. But once Thompson formally resigns, Lightfoot has 60 days to fill the aldermanic vacancy in the 11th Ward. Lightfoot will be required to appoint a new alderman with the consent of the city council, and the new alderman's term will last until Thompson's current term is up in 2023. So it's going to be a short term. Alderman Patrick Thompson has been judged by a jury of his peers and found guilty, Lightfoot wrote in a statement emailed to the Daily Line Monday evening. This week, we will be outlining an open and This week, we will be outlining an open and transparent process to fill the vacancy with a qualified public servant that represents the values of the residents of the 11th Ward and the city of Chicago. We'll talk more about the values of the residents of the city of Chicago when we get into the Lightfoot story in a moment.
Whoa! It sounded like Lightfoot was in the room with me.
Thank you. I've been working
You're
on
getting
my
very good. Getting so good at that.
The felony conviction also disqualifies Thompson from running for elected office again until he is pardoned. I wonder if this is going to prevent him from practicing law, which, on the plus side will also protect his clients who he would misrepresent because he's got such a bad memory.
Well, I guess that's a whole other can of worms he may have to deal with the what do they call it? The bar?
Yeah. Lying on his tax returns. We went through all that. It doesn't say anything about doesn't say anything about getting disbarred.
Okay. I've got just an update from CBS 2 Chicago. It just says that the Lightfoot is under pressure to appoint an Asian American to replace Daley Thompson.
Is Chinatown in his ward? He's in Bridgeport.
Maybe that. Oh yeah, that's got to be what it is.
That might be.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah. It says. Let's see. He represents a ward that represents a diverse, skinny sliver of the South Side that includes parts of Chinatown, Bridgeport, Back of the Yards, Canaryville, University Village, and Pilsen, as well as Guaranteed Rate Field, home of the White Sox. So that's kind of a weird combo ward.
It is, and I wonder if Lightfoot will honor that or if she will just do what she wants to do, as she often does. Barreling through her own agenda with her own people, covering things up, as we're going to get to in a moment with that polluting story with General Iron, which I had hoped Kit would be able to comment on because that's been an area that he's been very vocal about in covering in the past. Hopefully, Kit, if you're out there listening and we can get past those tech difficulties, you can join us for that story. Now, here's an interesting. You think, oh, great, another Daley went down, so much for the Daley dynasty. Not so much. Because even though he's a Daley Thompson, the convicted alderman is a mere distant cousin to Daley family's power, which means there's still a lot of power that the Daleys can have over Chicago, depending on when they decide they want to mete it out. And this comes to us from Mark Conkle. Despite Patrick Daley Thompson's conviction, the Daleys remain a political force backed by big money and deep political ties. Now, in the last election, everybody thought that I forgot. Why am I forgetting his first name? I'm always thinking of Richie Daley. What was his older brother's name who ran last election? Do you remember his first name, Ed?
No. What was his name? I guess he was that forgettable.
Well, people thought he might be a shoo-in because he was a Daley. And ironically, he kind of got chewed out pretty early in the race. Well, maybe not early, but like midway through the race. Everybody thought it's a Daley. He's got a lot of money. Here, he's going to come back and his family's going to be powerful again. But there were so many clowns in that clown car that
was it Bill Daley?
Bill Daley, yeah, that's right. Who was Obama's former chief of staff, I think, after Emmanuel left to come govern here. Yeah, they sent Rahm back because Washington couldn't deal with him, even though he was Obama's chief of staff. And I think it was Bill Daley who took over for him. And of course, his reward after serving as chief of staff then was to possibly come back and take over Chicago. So Conkle says, which I find interesting, reports of the Daley family's possible political demise have been greatly exaggerated. The federal conviction of an admittedly slovenly, absent-minded Daley family politician, Alderman Patrick Daley Thompson, may be a first in Chicago, but it in no way signals the coming end to a political dynasty branded to be synonymous with the city itself. Despite the federal jury's decision that Thompson, the grandson and nephew of Chicago's longest-serving mayors, filed false income tax reports and lied to federal officials about bank loans, Chicago's royal family still has plenty of power in all the right places. And that's probably why little Richie, isn't wearing an orange jumpsuit somewhere like he should. I have it. I don't want to say on good authority, but there was a lot of chatter that after Daley lost the Olympics, allegedly, the feds were zeroing in on him And I think it was like a matter of, look, man, just like step down or face the feds like going after you. Because I think that they had some stuff on him. This is all, conjecture, but I did hear that from people who were kind of in the know. Unfortunately, can't corroborate it, and it is just rumors. But given Richie Jr.'s proclivity for corruption and how the mess he left the city in, I think that there was probably some dirt there, which is why after the Olympics, I think perhaps they banked so much on the Olympics, or he banked so much on the Olympics when they lost the Olympics. A lot of this other stuff would have come out, which would have, I think, made him a little bit, which would have made him look weak. John Daley also. Oh, thank you, Dad. Dad's joining the show. Read your chats, he's telling me. I have a show to produce here and run, Dad. It's hard for me to always jump in there. But Ed, are you monitoring the chat?
Yeah, that's my bad, Jerry's dad. Sorry.
No, it's nobody's
we
fault.
missed it. He told us it was Bill Daley, like a second after I had remembered it. I was like,
Got it. All right. Well, I don't want my grumpy dad to like be all down our throats, but thanks for tossing that in, Dad. So Conkle's column goes on to say, despite the federal jury's decision that Thompson, the grandson and nephew of Chicago's longest-serving mayors, filed false income tax returns and lied to federal officials about bank loans, Chicago's royal family still has plenty of power in all the right places. The now convicted former alderman, yes, he is. Thank you, Ward Dear. The now convicted former Alderman Thompson campaigned with his mother's surname as a not-so-subtle reminder that his middle name connected him to the ultimate clout. But here's the reality. As a longtime Democratic Party operative told me, Thompson is just a Daley nephew. Quote, no one give a rip about Patrick, and I don't know anybody who thought that this guy Thompson was going to be the next Daley mayor, the operative told me. This is no big deal for the Daleys. Sure, state law requires Thompson to step aside as 11th Ward alderman, and Mayor Lori Lightfoot has 60 days to appoint a replacement for the city council seat that the Daleys have controlled through generations of city hall and family scandals. But whomever she picks certainly will face opposition from a Daley-backed candidate in the 2023 city elections. And despite the quote-unquote historic federal conviction of a Daley, the family remains a political force backed by big money and generations of political relationships. Nobody expects them to give that up because a nephew didn't have the smarts to ask one of his rich uncles for a loan. Political power in the 11th Ward, home to Sox Park, a growing hipster population, and an influx of Chinese Americans, remains controlled by Democratic Party Committeeman John Daley, a longtime Cook County Commissioner, and son and brother of mayors named Daley. One of John's brothers, former U.S. Commerce Secretary and White House Chief of Staff Bill Daley, who ran a failed mayoral bid with a lackluster campaign in 2019, has made a fortune in the banking industry as a rainmaker and currently serves as vice chairman of public affairs for Wells Fargo. The smartest Daley brother you've probably never met, Michael Daley, says he remains an equity partner in the family law firm formerly known as Daley and George that was rebranded as George's and Sienowski and is packed with Daley loyalists and City Hall insiders. And former Mayor Richard M. Daley, the namesake son of Chicago's first boss, remains a rainmaker for the international law firm and the founding partner of Colluded & Company, a boutique merchant bank that combines unparalleled access to capital, market intelligence, and deal-making expertise. Convicted former Alderman Thompson was never in the same league. A Democratic Party insider put it this way: the most incredible thing Thompson accomplished is getting convicted on some dumb shit. Mostly Thompson's troubles are minor and a completely unnecessary embarrassment for the Daley family, which has managed to maintain plenty of power while operating outside elected politics. The felonious demise of a sloppy, scatterbrained nephew won't change that. So, yeah, I guess the rumors of the Daley family's demise are greatly exaggerated. Now, real quickly, before we continue, I'm going to bring a graphic up. Hey, if this couple can stay together for 56 and a half years, maybe it gives hope to the rest of us that are still looking. That's my mom and dad on Valentine's Day yesterday. How about that? And I believe my sister Stacy took that picture. We were sharing it on social media. But since Dad's in the chat tonight, I thought I would honor him and my mom with a nice little graphic there, a nice little image to share, and wish everybody a belated happy Valentine's Day. Now, as we move on, look who's joined the stream. Mr. Kit.
after slapping my internet hard in the face, a firm slap. I'm back on. Sorry I'm late, folks, but I'm
That's
here.
all right.
A promise is a promise. How are y'all doing?
Very good. And you're right in time for the story that I knew would really, really, how do we put this, tickle your fancy?
All right, let's hear it.
Let's bring it up. Share the screen. Oh, I'm going to pull that
Oh,
graphic
yeah, that
down.
one.
Yeah, you know what it is? I've got to juggle the screens I'm sharing and pull up the correct story. I saw this tonight, Kit, and I'm like, yeah. If Kit's going to join me tonight, this is one that we've got. This is one we got to report on and follow up on. As it relates to Mayor Lightfoot, what is she doing, Kit? Covering up more shit. And we've already talked about this. We've talked about how she's turned a blind eye to these environmental polluters here in Chicago. So let me read this particular article, though, and then we'll go into it, because it's very interesting how, you know, she acts like she cares, but behind the scenes, people are finding
doesn't.
texts. They're finding her memos, and all she's trying to do is cover shit up while pretending that she gives a shit. So this comes to us from Gregory Pratt and Joe Mayer at the Chicago Tribune. That's General Iron. Mayor Lori Lightfoot ripped a staffer for a memo on General Iron's controversial scrap shredder plant because it could be made public. She didn't want that out because there was a narrative to push. As a chronic polluter sought city permission to set up shop on Chicago's southeast side, recently released emails show there was a stark divide in the administration of Mayor Lori Lightfoot. One of the mayor wanted to keep secret from the public. Secrets. The inspector general has constantly found her covering things up, and I wonder if this is the reason he resigned. He just like got fed up with the fact that there's no transparency. He was being fought on all these things, but although it really shouldn't matter, because if, as the inspector general, he has the power to, you know, bring this stuff forward. The fall 2020 emails released to the Tribune under an open records request. Now, Kit, all this stuff came out because someone had to file a Freedom of Information Act. That's what you have to do to get to transparency here in Chicago. The fall 2020 emails released to the Tribune under an open records request offer a window into the extent to which Lightfoot hoped to stop the public from learning details of the behind-the-scenes debate over General Iron's attempt to move from a wealthy, largely white Lincoln Park neighborhood to a lower-income, predominantly Latino one on the southeast side, and that is why we use the expression environmental racism.
Yes. So let me go ahead and unpack a little bit on this, because the thing is, Lightfoot had the audacity some time ago, and I'm hoping it's not too late, and maybe I could waffle just for a little bit. But she was also there's a 30-second interview where she's talking about the matte asphalt plant. So I got to pull up the tweet from the Neighbors for Environmental Justice, who again.
Why don't you look for that? Look for that tweet. Let me just get to the next paragraph in the article, because this is what's relevant. This is what's damning, actually. Despite campaigning on a promise to, quote, bring in the light at City Hall, Lightfoot admonished staffers for sending her emails that could later be made public if somebody happened to request them under the state's Freedom of Information Act, commonly known by its acronym FOIA. The mayor scolded her top environmental advisor, and she's just not scolding her advisors or her staffers, Kit. She has openly scolded Kwame Raoul. Well, not openly, but she has scolded Kwame Raoul. She has scolded Governor Pritzker in a story we're going to report on towards the tail end of the show. If you cross her, if you do not follow what she wants, you are she's as bad as Nixon was.
Yeah, well,
literally has an enemies list.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I remember interviewing Lori Lightfoot, and she was promising all these promises of bringing in reform and rebuilding the Chicago Environmental Protection Agency. And I sent you the Twitter link via Slack, private message to you.
I can pull it up.
You should be able to see it. But again, this doesn't surprise me about Lightfoot, because this is her whole entire administration, blaming other people, lashing out at individuals that dare criticize her, and at the same time as well, cover up corruption. This is the problem with Lightfoot being mayor of the city of Chicago. She is Rahm Emanuel 2.0. She doesn't give a damn about the citizens. She doesn't give a damn about her constituents. She only cares about lining up her pockets. She only cares about protecting her cronies. And in this video from Neighbors for Environmental Justice, only a few short seconds, okay, if we could read the tweet, even Chicago mayor agrees. Mad asphalt plant that's been operating now without a permit and was built in 2018 without informing any of the citizens in the district by McKinley Park. The state of Illinois, city of Chicago, Cook County failed to inform the residents of the construction of this asphalt. She said the Matt asphalt plant doesn't belong next to the people. But yet in that earlier article that you were reading, Lightfoot is then lashing out at a staffer about this memo about that scrapyard that's being built in, a Latino community. Lightfoot is giving a thumbs up for environmental racism for industrial facilities to be built on the south and west side neighborhoods of Chicago. If we can, let's play that video.
Let's run the tape.
One, I think we've got to be much more aggressive in our regulatory enforcement of clean air, clean water, and making sure that we don't have things that happen, for example, like in McKinley Park, where seemingly overnight and without the knowledge of the community, an asphalt plant got stood up, causing all sorts of problems for that community. One, I think we've got.
Yeah, it's going to be repeating itself. It's a short second video, but
wow.
Yeah, wow. Well, hey, Lightfoot, she still hasn't done anything about the Mad Asphalt plant. It's still operating without a permit. There's been no response from the state of Illinois, city of Chicago, or anyone in Cook County. Mad Asphalt plant is still there. And guess who's in charge of the Chicago Environmental Protection Agency? The alderman of the 12th Ward, who again has some close ties to the Mad Asphalt plant. And Lightfoot appointed, again, Alderman Cardenas to be in charge of the Chicago Environmental Protection Agency. This is the same Cardenas who's probably also turning a blind eye to General Iron. And again, Lightfoot, this is what she does. She is a professional liar. She is thin-skinned. She is incompetent. She allows corruption to run amok. This is a mayor that is okay with seeing the city being torn apart, and she's adding more fuel to the fire every single day she is in office. There should be a vote of no confidence for this mayor, and people all across this city, from the north side, from the west side, to the south side, from the loop, should be demanding her immediate resignation. Lightfoot is a failure for Chicago. She's been light on the issues since day one. She lied to the people, and she never cared about the city of Chicago. As far as I'm concerned, everything that she has been doing so far is, again, damaging Chicago. And I care for this city, but Lightfoot obviously doesn't. And when she starts yelling at her staffers about obviously what's happening with General Iron, she doesn't care. She only cares about her image, vanity. She's ego-driven.
Come on, Kit. You can't have a paper trail when you're mayor of Chicago. Accountability? What's that?
Wait a minute. I guess her name when she ran should have tipped us off though. Lightfoot. And what was it that you just said, Kate? That you believe in the people? You believe in the city?
I believe in the city. I believe there are good people in Chicago.
Gotham isn't beyond saving. Give me more time. There are good people here.
I've been playing with my drop-ins.
All right, there you go. There you go.
How do you pronounce it? Is it Raish?
Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, Ra's al Ghul.
Hey, Chicago is Gotham.
Chicago is Gotham. Chicago is Hell's Reach.
I have asked now several times for there to be no more correspondence and writings that are not protected by privilege, Lightfoot wrote in a November 2020 email to Angela.
I was hoping you would do
Tovar.
the accent again.
For
Such a great impression.
Are you being sarcastic, or am I really?
No, I love it, man. You got the raspiness down perfectly.
It really does a number on your throat, though.
Yeah.
And she wrote in a November 2020 email to Angela Tovar, her administration's chief sustainability officer. I'm happy to engage in the conversation, but it must be done in a way that does not expose the administration to risk, Lightfoot added. Under state law, government officials must release public records to anyone requesting them, though there are numerous provisions in the Freedom of Information Act that allow government bodies to make redactions to cover shit up that isn't transparent. In her email to Lightfoot and other high-ranking aides, Tovar wrote, "It is my understanding that you have had the opportunity to hear from the city's law department directly, and I want to give you another perspective." Lightfoot officials redacted most of Tovar's email and are withholding much of the memo she wrote, despite Lightfoot's admonishment that it has no protections from the state's Open Records Act. She's Richard Nixon in a wig. The mayor's office said the memo contains strategic recommendations. Lightfoot staff said the city will make a decision on allowing a permit for General Iron after a community meeting on February 15th, which was today. Now remember, General Iron's been operating for the past year without a permit. We went out and covered the General Iron protest last February around this time. This is when I met you guys, Kit. This is when I joined Chicago Corner. We were out with the protesters in the street that were protesting General Iron in Lightfoot's neighborhood when they moved. So why does it take, how can you put something together in the city that's polluting the neighborhoods and have an entire year to operate without a permit where people are looking into seeing what kind of damage you're doing to the community? I guess that's just standard operating procedure. Yeah.
Well, to see, again, this is a mayor that doesn't want to be held accountable for her actions. So every criticism that she's getting from the left, from the right, from even average citizens should be presented before her. And she should be hearing it from every single citizen across this city. No matter what, everyone should be upset with Lightfoot. She is okay with the continuation and the policy of environmental racism and communities being polluted. These are communities that have been neglected by previous mayoral administrations, and now this mayoral administration under Lightfoot is continuing these same neoliberal policies, these racist, bigoted policies. And she's okay with selling out the South Side neighborhoods, the West Side neighborhoods. She's okay with seeing the women, the children, the elderly being impacted by the pollutants from these industrial facilities that are built next to parks, schools, homes, apartment buildings, small businesses. She is okay with this. She is giving the green light. She doesn't want to be held accountable.
And that air spreads across the city. So anybody in the North Side neighborhoods who thinks, well, this doesn't affect me, I'm not going to care. It will. It does. I mean, you should care to begin with. But to just like dismiss it, not pay any attention to it because it's in a South Side neighborhood, completely loses sight of the fact that pollutants are airborne. And eventually that crap's going to get up here too. Do you know how long it took for the Tribune to get these certain emails and texts? A year. Took them a year.
A year. And Lightfoot is okay with covering up her tracks. A year. This is the kind of stuff that you would see from Rahm Emanuel or Mayor Daley. That should tell you what kind of character Lori Lightfoot is. She has no character at all. This whole idea and act that she cares about the city, she doesn't care about the young people. She doesn't care about men or women and children who are in this city. She doesn't care about the elderly. She doesn't care about the public schools. She doesn't care about our crumbling infrastructure. She doesn't care. She just wants to collect her paycheck and go home. Remember that whole big push that she was having with the Chicago Teachers Union? She didn't give a damn about the public school students. She doesn't care about the students at all. She doesn't care about the community. She doesn't care that crime is running amok. She doesn't care that businesses are being shut down in the city. Lightfoot doesn't care. She's light on the issues.
And now one of her former operatives is potentially engaged in a dirty tricks campaign to support the opponents of outgoing city teachers union Jesse Sharkey's
right, and
appointee for Chicago Teachers Union, who's going to be replacing him.
And because this is who Lightfoot is, she is so petty and so thin-skinned. She never forgave the Chicago Teachers Union for standing up against her in 2019. Yep. She has a vendetta. That's how thin-skinned she is. We basically elected somebody who has not mentally developed since elementary school. She is so petty. She makes she's unreasonable. And there are children in elementary schools and in high school that are far more mature than Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
It took the state attorney general that determined her office violated the state open records law to get all of this stuff released to the Tribune. The state attorney general had to get involved. That included trying to keep secret an email about an alleged bet over the length of the 2019 teacher strike, and 2.5 years of text involving city business in which Lightfoot called officials names ranging from jackass to dumb person of color. Can you imagine that? A woman of color, a lesbian woman of color calling other people of color dum-dums.
Well, what I would say then is, when today's cancel culture world, Lightfoot is being racist and bigoted.
Yep.
And she should be canceled then. How about that?
Well,
She should
okay,
be
so
censored.
yeah,
There
I
you
mean,
go.
if we're gonna be consistent, she should be canceled. I'm not for canceling people.
No,
Yeah.
but
And I know
the
you're
thing
not
is-
either. I know you're not either. But yeah, it's
Right.
if we're gonna be consistent, that's basically what that says. I mean,
but Lightfoot is saying some racist, bigoted things, and again, Mayor, you ran on change in 2019. I remember interviewing Lori Lightfoot. She promised a whole lot, and she promised things would be different, but nothing fundamentally changed.
No.
And with these recent conversations, I mean, again, I think all of us should be a little shocked by the kind of language that's coming from the mayor of Chicago. That's an office of high authority and respect, but I guess Lightfoot doesn't respect the people. She doesn't respect the office.
It's an
and she
office
doesn't
of high
respect her
authority.
colleagues.
I don't know that people respect it anymore. It's definitely an office of high authority and power.
Yeah.
Whether we respect it or not is a whole other story.
Yeah.
But for those who came in late, what is the General Iron narrative about? General Iron's move has drawn staunch opposition from community activists and federal housing officials who in 2020 opened an investigation into why the city is allowing the company's move. Activists note the U.S. Justice Department and Environmental Protection Agency cracked down on General Iron 3 times between 1999 and 2018, later brokering legal settlements for emitting illegal amounts of pollution and handling scrap unsafely. That's what this is about. Now they're doing it in the southeast side. The latest release of emails underscores the controversy roiling City Hall over General Iron, which is attempting to move from Lincoln Park to Chicago's east side neighborhood abutting the Indiana state line. The correspondence also highlights the ways Lightfoot has failed to fulfill her campaign promise to bring in the light at City Hall. So yeah, we got more Lightfoot stories, guys. It's all Lightfoot all the time tonight here at Chicago Corner. But so minutes after scolding Tovar, her aide, Lightfoot sent an email to a group of policy officials and her chief of staff ordering them to stop the childish fighting and get on the same page. She told staffers she was an independent thinker as a longtime lawyer and also understands a thing or two about politics. She's not an independent thinker, and she's certainly not a collaborator. I mean, her independent thinking only comes from what she wants, not with any kind of thoughtful, reasoned conversation and dialogue with people. She ended with a demand that they not correspond in ways that the city could later be forced to reveal to the public. Oh, this has to do with what the emails contained in regards to General Iron. Stop sending around memos and emails about pending litigation that is not protected by privilege, Lightfoot said. If you want to talk to me, pick up the phone.
Oh,
Well,
she's now. Oh, get this. Now she's labeling all of her stuff with quote, subject to protection under the Trade Secrets Act and FOIA exempt.
Where are you seeing that?
I just sent you a Twitter link.
Okay.
Anthony Moser has
Slack?
been following a lot of that.
Pull it
stuff.
up. Pull it up. Pull that up.
I am. I'm pulling it up right now. I'm going into Slack. Let me copy the link. Let me bring it up here. Stand by. Go on, though, Ed, while I bring the link up.
Well, you're seeing it here first, folks. This is who Lightfoot is as a mayor. She's got to go. She cannot be reelected in 2023. And I'm asking all of our viewing audience nationwide, spread the word to anyone you know in this city. We got to get Lightfoot out of office.
Well, Kit, did you hear the Friday broadcast with me and Art? There was a really, really scathing New York Times editorial about Lightfoot that we covered at the end of the show.
Unfortunately, I missed it. I was at the studio doing.
I'm going to subclip it and put it up as its own segment because we didn't have it in the thumbnail for the show. It was something that came at the back end, but it was a good segment and a conversation that I had with Art. But so here's the tweet. In what I can only assume is an early kickoff for FOIA Fest, Mayor Redacted Foot sent CDPH to the last public meeting about General Iron with slides labeled subject to protection under the Federal Trade Secrets Act and FOIA exempt. Look at that. Wow. There.
That's
Right there at the
crazy.
bottom. Wow. Who do I No, Dad, I do not prefer Tony Preckwinkle.
No.
The difference between Tony Preckwinkle and Lori Lightfoot was the difference between choking on shit or a shit sandwich. At the time, I believed in Lightfoot and voted for her, but I guess we gotta wait to see who's gonna climb into the clown car, the mayoral clown car, or hopefully stay out of it and actually stand on their own and be a better candidate for mayor. Arturo shares Lightfoot is already turning the wheels for her reelection. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, well,
God.
if we're lucky, Pegleg will stay in long enough to unseat her.
Yeah,
Might as well.
We
Peg
know-
Leg might be a better person altogether. Jeez.
it certainly
Hey.
couldn't be any worse.
Yeah,
True
No,
plus
it
he's
can't-
fighting
can't
for
get
that
worse.
chocolate milk ward. I'm down with that.
Yeah, there you go.
True
How-
democracy
how-
now.
Do we know who else is running now?
Well,
Anybody?
Arnie Duncan has hinted that he's going to run. Now that he hasn't committed to it, even though he's stepping down from the Chicago Teachers Union, but a lot of people are speculating maybe Jesse Sharkey may toss his hat into the ring. And of
I
course
heard
we've got.
Clownton Zera.
I was about to say Illinois Nazi. I'm sorry, Fraternal Order of Police President John Catanzara has also threatened.
Did I pronounce his name incorrectly?
Why don't one of us run for mayor? Yeah, I don't think your savings account is that deep, Dad, to support any of us running.
Yeah, someone want to loan me $1 million?
I think we're in a far more powerful position to be commentators and building this show up than to be mayor.
Well, one of our big mission statements is when the next election cycle happens here, we want to be able to weed through the shit candidates and hopefully elevate and give a platform to those that we hope and sense are genuine and authentic and aren't going to bamboozle people the way that Lightfoot did. I mean, when Lightfoot ran, there really wasn't much of a choice at the end. I think with the fact that she's very, vulnerable right now based on how badly she's performed. I mean, I keep bringing up his name, and it's not like to force him into the race, but I think Jamal Green would be a great candidate if he chose to run. You really need an activist, someone who's on the streets in the neighborhoods doing good on their own, that is constantly pointing out what the problems are and also presenting solutions. This is not about us complaining about all the problems. We know what the problems are. The biggest problem is there's nobody right now in city government offering or instituting solutions that will change things for the better. And that's the candidate we've got to look for. Those are the candidates we've got to vet in the next election cycle and hopefully, pay attention to here and maybe even bring on the show to talk about what solutions they can offer to this just utterly corrupt and broken system that we're talking about every week, every show.
Yeah, and we got to make sure that they're good at snow removal, that they're good at road maintenance. Those potholes are getting bad out there, ladies and gentlemen. And we got to make sure that they're going to replace all the leaded water pipes.
Yeah, Kit.
That's a problem.
Take it from there, Kit.
So, there is lead in Chicago's drinking water. So, for some of you who don't know, there's obviously the ongoing crisis in Flint, Michigan. But in the city of Chicago, a major metropolitan city, a lot of our infrastructure, a lot of our water pipelines are basically lead pipes. They're predominantly on the southwest side neighborhoods, but also up in the north side and in the inner loop as well. Lead is a harmful product to be drinking, and Mayor Rahm Emanuel's administration turned a blind eye to it and never once addressed the fact that our water is heavily contaminated with this dangerous material. Lightfoot and a few of the other mayoral candidates in 2019 did address the fact that there's lead in Chicago's drinking water and promised to do something about it. Since then, nothing has fundamentally changed. I also want to remind our viewing audience that some time ago in 2017, Daniel Lupker and I did a short documentary. It's about 16 minutes long. We covered the industrial facilities in the state of Indiana and how they're dumping regulated toxic waste into Lake Michigan. Now, this regulated toxic waste, what they're doing is they have the toxic waste, they mix it with water, and then they push it back into Lake Michigan, assuming that, more water will get rid of the pollutants. That's not how it works. These are dangerous metals and gases and other chemicals that should not be in clean drinking water, and that water comes right back to the city of Chicago that we're drinking. So, all across the city, we are still drinking contaminated water. That means everything that you wash your hands, drink water, shower with, you are potentially exposing yourself to lead. And this city and this administration, like the previous administration, are okay with the citizens of Chicago drinking lead.
Dad says you run for mayor. Then he follows up with muster up financial support like Obama did. Then he says Obama didn't have deep pockets. But you know what?
Yes, he did.
You know what Obama did have, Dad? He had the
Connections.
connections to the deep pockets. So unless you have those connections to help any of us, because I'm going to say it right now, I am not smart enough to be mayor. I can maybe give some advice and I can maybe point to some solutions. I'm certainly not smart enough to be in that position.
Obama had a lot of deep connections and did have some deep pockets.
In the Democratic Party. I mean, he was groomed once they realized the charisma factor he had to help rebrand the Democratic Party for the Clinton neoliberal faction of the party, which we never imagined that he would embrace and join, but another one who bamboozled the rest of us.
I mean, he had the deep connections with Bank of America. Wells Fargo had a seat at the table. No matter who was going to win between him and John McCain, Wells Fargo, the corporations were all going to have a seat at the table.
Remember who gave him his list of who he was going to fill his cabinet with? Was it Goldman Sachs? No. I think it was Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs,
Yeah, they literally told him who to fill his cabinet with.
Yeah, Goldman Sachs told Obama who he should appoint. And since then, Barack Obama, he is a war criminal. Here is the truth about Barack Obama. He led us from 2 wars to 7. He got rid of habeas corpus. He is the one that helped implement the policy of children in cages. We all want to vilify Trump. And yeah, Trump is a jagoff and an evil guy. But the Obama administration helped implement
set it up
for the crisis. He set it up for those kids to go in cages. This is the same Obama that was against whistleblowers like Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. This is the same Obama that turned a blind eye to the same bastards that caused a 2008 economic crash. Obama is not a good man. And plus, the audacity of him having a Nobel Peace Prize when he bombed more innocent civilians than any other president, even more than Trump.
Quick correction, AG, thank you for this correction because I knew it was a banking group. It was Citigroup that gave Obama, not Goldman Sachs. It was Citigroup. But I remember now the Goldman Sachs connection was people on the Citigroup list were former Goldman Sachs people.
Yeah. Yep.
Put the foxes in charge of the hen house. And do you know who Obama's favorite president was, Kit?
Ronnie Boy Reagan.
Thank you. If that doesn't tell you how he planned on legislating when he went in, he's a right-leaning moderate.
Oh, one other thing too about
he told us he was too.
Good old
Not many
Barack
people
Obama.
were listening to that when he said it.
That whole thing with the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, is actually Romney Care. It came out from the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah,
that's who Obama is. But I'll give him this. Yes, he could speak well, and yes, he was cool and suave and all this other stuff, but he was a neoliberal through and through and a war criminal.
Miguel H. says Obama not only gave us Trump, he also gave us Biden.
Yeah.
As did Hillary in that previous election cycle. Now, all right, let's get a little personal here real quick. Little says, Jerry, don't talk down on yourself in front of your father. That breaks the dad's heart. You're plenty smart enough. I admit I'm smart enough in a lot of ways, maybe not politics. So I have confidence in other areas that I think my dad's proud of. Certainly not demeaning how he and my mom brought me up with the brains that I've got, but these brains are better applied towards the things I'm applying them to. So, but thank you for your vote of confidence, Little.
Don't worry, you can join me for the Rubicon party because no matter how this plays out, we're crossing the Rubicon.
So let's go into more about Lightfoot and, the dirty trick. If she's like Nixon, this is certainly a dirty trick. This comes to us from WBEZ Chicago and Sarah Karp and Nader Issa. Lightfoot Ally is behind a campaign that is supporting challengers to the leadership of the Chicago Teachers Union. A former top advisor to the mayor who is constantly at odds with the CTU is involved with boosting a group opposing the CTU's current leaders. The article goes on to report, a former top advisor to Mayor Lori Lightfoot is behind a social media campaign supporting challengers to the current Chicago Teachers Union leadership team in the union's upcoming election. Curiously, before I go on with this article, this former mayoral aide does not live in Chicago. She lives in Wilmette. She's not even a Chicagoan, getting involved in the dirty tricks to try to usurp.
God, I hate that. I hate it when people who are supposed to work for the city
right?
don't even live in a goddamn city.
Mayor Lightfoot made an excuse for her when she resigned in 2019, and we're going to get to that. But let me go on with the article, though. The campaign to lead perhaps the city's strongest and most recognizable union is drawing significantly more attention than usual after 3 straight years of disputes with the mayor, who has long viewed the CTU as one of her most strident political adversaries, particularly ahead of a mayoral election next year in which the union is expected to oppose her. CTU President Jesse Sharkey announced he won't seek re-election, but Stacey Davis Gates, his vice president, will run for the top seat. Their union slate, called the Caucus of Rank and File Educators, is a progressive group that has negotiated for social and educational justice causes. Their opponents, called Members First, want the union to focus on bread and butter labor issues such as pay and benefits, and have called for more transparency in the union's political efforts. Now, here's where her former aide comes in. Lisa Schneider-Fabes confirmed her involvement Thursday in promoting Members First in a targeted advertising campaign through a group called Chicago Teachers United. She oversaw the Lightfoot administration's transition into office in 2019 and was chief operating officer of the mayor's election campaign. She resigned in 2019 from World Business Chicago, a public-private organization that is partly funded by the city to promote economic development, while under investigation by the city's inspector general for getting paid for the job while, quote-unquote, volunteering in the mayor's office and living in the suburbs. Schneider-Fabes lives in Wilmette and is on the school board of District 39. On her school board campaign page, she touts more recent work with the city's COVID-19 response fund. She said neither the mayor nor Members First are connected to her most recent effort. Teachers United is not the city, and I don't work for the city, she wrote. Employer involvement in union elections violates federal labor laws, and the union prohibits those running for office from seeking financial or in-kind support from anyone outside the union. Now, City Hall spokeswoman Kate LaFergie said Lightfoot and her team have had zero involvement in any internal union election ever. This activity has apparently been independently pursued by a former staff member who left her role more than 2 years ago. She said the mayor remains committed to respecting the independent democratic process of our partners, so long as, it's doing the mayor's dirty work in the labor movement without interference. So what's curious here is that in the other article about before she left in 2019, Mayor Lori Lightfoot was defending an arrangement in which a close advisor lived in the suburbs while collecting a paycheck from a nonprofit under her control and volunteering at City Hall, saying it was not remotely close to the kinds of special deals for connected political insiders she promised to end when elected. This lady, Wilmette resident Lisa Schneider-Fabes, resigned in 2019 from her post as vice president of the private nonprofit. We just went over that. After serving on the mayor's transition team, Schneider-Fabes was hired by World Business Chicago, a taxpayer-subsidized nonprofit agency that pushes for economic development, on the day Lightfoot was sworn in office. She then immediately was detailed into Lightfoot's office, where she served for 6 months. Now, what Lightfoot said at the time that it was questioned, that arrangement, which allowed Schneider-Fabes to get paid while avoiding the city residency rules that apply to nearly every other Chicago government employee, did not represent a special deal for Schneider-Fabes, Lightfoot said at that time. There's no comparison whatsoever, Lightfoot said while speaking to reporters on an unrelated event. You'll write what you write, but I don't believe that there's any comparison. Rules for thee, not for me.
Oh, Jerry, you got to see who this lady is married to.
Oh, no. Who is it?
You see, I just sent you a link,
but I'm sorry. I'm too slow. Yeah. I'm catching what comes up in Slack. Let me get it. Let me bring it up.
No. Why am I dreading this? Why am I dreading this? Hang on. Let me go find out first.
Well, here, let me bring it up here. All right. Paste and go. The suspense is killing me. All right. Let me bring the screen up. Close Lightfoot ally behind ad campaign. No,
that's not it.
Oh, is that the wrong one? I'm sorry.
Did I send you the wrong link here?
Possibly. Stand by, everybody.
Try that again.
Send it again. Hang on. Uh-oh.
Is it a Twitter link you're sending me?
Yeah, let me just give you.
That's okay. I can bring up the Twitter link. Let me before I bring the screen up, let me just vet what's on Twitter to make sure it's the right link. I can't wait. The suspense is killing me. Who is she married to? Brace yourself, Kit.
Oh, no.
Lisa Schneider-Fabes is married to Brian Fabes, a former CEO of Civic Consulting Alliance, a consulting group that advised Rahm Emanuel on his project to close 50 Chicago public schools in 2013. So naturally, Ed,
There's no
you
way
are doing
that's a
some-
coincidence.
you are doing some fine detective work connecting the dots tonight.
Fuck
Thank
the
you.
duck.
Thank you.
That motherfucker.
How about
Lightfoot
that?
still continuing. She's no longer Rahm Emanuel 2.0. She's a click, copy, paste of Rahm Emanuel. She brought in the wife of the Jagoff, who's part of the consulting group that shut down not only 50, but really 53 Chicago public schools.
And now she's behind the campaign that is supporting challengers to the leadership of the Chicago's teachers union. Because
I'm
Lightfoot just
sorry.
wants her claws all over it, man. Look, Lightfoot's never wanted an elected school board. Why do you think that is? She just wants to retain control over the Chicago public schools as well as the teachers union now.
And it goes deeper than that too, guys. I've been
Please.
following the Chicago schools thing for a number of years now, and the pattern which I see happening is a repeating pattern that I think a lot of mayors have been doing. They pretend that they support public schools. Meanwhile, they find ways to continue sabotaging the public schools so to make them look bad so that they can bring in private charter schools.
That's what Arnie Duncan wants to do. That's why
This
he wants
is-
to run.
and,
Business
this
leaders
is-
are wanting him to run because they know how he's going to be more pro-business than Lightfoot or Rahm were.
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing that I had seen going on in Chicago, but I'm sure it's happening all over the country. That they get these people that seem like they're on the up and up and supporting teachers and teachers unions and stuff, and what they do is they go and they get their people installed in there, and then they just slowly sabotage it from within.
Yep, and we've seen this so many times. I want to remind everyone, too, that when the teachers union was doing the strike, like I said, it had nothing to deal with COVID. That story was all about Chicago corruption.
And she
Anyone
used
that
the
was
kids.
making it, anyone that
Used
was
the
making
kids as
about
pawns.
Yeah,
Let's
anyone
also
that-
state those kids were pawns
yeah,
in Lightfoot's larger political agenda.
she didn't care about opening the public schools. She didn't care about anything like that because her kid goes to a charter school,
No.
and they were doing online learning.
They were
It's
doing
no
remote
big deal.
learning. It was good for her daughter, but not for everyone else in Chicago that could have been exposed during
And
last
for everyone that was talking about, oh, well, this is being anti-mandate or standing up against. No. The bigger story that was being ignored was Chicago corruption. Chicago corruption was being ignored. Everyone on social media was giving their opinions. Should schools be closed or should schools not be closed? What is this vaccine or all this other stuff? No. This had to deal with Chicago corruption. This had to deal with how the public schools are being shut down. And when the schools are being, again, undermined, and when the public school is shut down, especially in struggling communities on the South and West Side neighborhoods, that is a death blow.
Eric Tino Diaz shares both kids and parents are pawns. They've lost.
Yeah.
I really hope Sharky runs. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, me
Just-
too. I
just
hope he
to
runs. I
have
hope
him in
Jamal
the
runs. I want
debates.
Yeah. You had some smart people providing solutions during the debates. Would be really refreshing. All right, so let's go on to our next Lightfoot story, which I think is a framework for everything we've been talking about tonight. This comes from the Chicago Tribune. Now, this is from February 10th. It's from a week ago, but I thought it so completely relates to what we're talking about. Actually, I'm not going to have the screen up because there's not a picture there, so I'll just read from the article. But this comes from Gregory Pratt and Madeline Buckley. Again, speaking to Mayor Lightfoot's governing style. Mayor Lori Lightfoot texts to Illinois Attorney General over police reform. Quote, "Do you really want a public fight with me over the consent decree?" After Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot downplayed her administration's slow implementation of police reforms during a speech in 2020, a lawyer for the Illinois Attorney General responded in court by criticizing the city's handling of the consent decree. Lightfoot fired back by texting Attorney General Kwame Raoul. Now, remember how she was talking down to her aides in the previous story we were reading about the FOIA revelations from the email messages. So Lightfoot fired back by now the texts are coming out. People are discovering all this other stuff. Lightfoot fired back by texting Attorney General Kwame Raoul directly that his office took a quote unquote cheap political shot by questioning her administration's handling of police reforms instead of calling her first personally to discuss it. And by discuss it, she means approve it, right? Kwame, do you really want a public fight with me over the consent decree? Your flax comments today in court were way over the line. You have never once engaged with me over the consent decree, so this is shameful, Lightfoot texted Raoul. It was a cheap political shot that I could have thought was beneath you, but now I know the terms of engagement. Terms of engagement? You're two city leaders. There's no terms of engagement about this. The man's allowed to have an opinion. It was not a political shot. It's like, hey, man, we think you fucked up, Mayor Lightfoot. And what? Are you supposed to come to you for permission on what they can say? Who the fuck? She really thinks she's the queen.
What the thing is, she thinks she's the queen. She's beyond reproach. You cannot speak to her. You cannot criticize her. And anyone who does is automatically deemed an enemy of the state. This is why she cannot be reelected in the city of Chicago. Because can you imagine how much of a boost that would do to her such a fragile ego?
Completely embolden her that she's completely beyond reproach. I mean, she already thinks so now. But if she won again, and with a majority, given the fact only 30% of our registered voters in Chicago are coming out to vote.
Yeah. Well, listen, Jerry, listen. You need to calm down with all your criticism. You need to tell that E. Heller and that Kit Cabello to shut their mouths and to be quiet. Otherwise, guess what? They need to go inside. Put a mask on.
Got to do dueling lorries. The last phrase is one the mayor also used texting with Governor J.B. Pritzker when she accused she talks down to the governor when she accused his office of stoking negative press coverage of her. The messages were sent during a first term in which she privately called other officials names from jackass to dumb person of color, while also chastising her staff for sending her memos that she said might later become public. The text with Raoul, recently released to the Tribune as part of an open records request, came in June of 2020, 1.5 years into a consent decree implemented after a lawsuit by the Attorney General's office. The mayor had just defended the city's handling of the consent decree in a speech, but a lawyer for Raoul criticized the city's effort in court, prompting Lightfoot to text Raoul directly. Lightfoot's text with Raoul delve into a particularly sensitive political issue for the mayor, a former federal prosecutor who vowed to reform the police department but has faced criticism from advocates who say she hasn't done enough because she wants to please the cops, even though they don't like her because she doesn't continue to let them get away with murder. I mean, she's riding both sides of the fence, realizing you can't blow out the wind. You got to take a stand on one side or the other, and plant your roots and actually like stand for something, not just continue blowing back and forth to think you're going to.
Lightfoot doesn't know how to stand for anything.
Everybody off.
She doesn't know how to stand for anything. She, like I said, Lightfoot. She has no idea what it means to stand her ground or to fight because she's light on the issues, and whenever she is challenged, she'll just blow away.
Well, here's the debate over the handling of the consent decree. It came to a head in June of 2020 following nationwide protests over the murder of George Floyd by then Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. In a State of the City address on June 20th in 2020, Lightfoot announced a slate of reform directives she delivered to Police Superintendent David Brown, but on the reforms mandated by the consent decree, she said, "Yes, we're under constant decree, but the process of reform has been too slow and too narrowly focused." 3 days later, at a court hearing related to the consent decree, Lightfoot's statement was criticized by Sharice Pryor, an attorney for Raoul's office, who also told U.S. District Judge Robert Dow that the city should be more quickly implementing the reforms already ordered in the decree. Earlier this week, we were surprised to hear Mayor Lightfoot publicly describe the consent decree as too narrowly focused and the reform process too slow, Pryor said, according to a transcript of the hearing. Pryor appeared to have taken issue with Lightfoot's implication that the consent decree itself was not meeting reform needs. To the contrary, Pryor said, the city and the police department were failing to meet the minimum requirements of the document, pointing to numerous missed deadlines in the early months of the consent decree timeline. So what was she doing, Kit? She was trying to play to the cops. She's trying to please the cops.
She's trying to jerk everyone off and trying to impress people. Yep. She can't.
The problem with the consent decree implementation has not been the consent decree, which was crafted after years of investigation, advocacy, negotiations, and community involvement, Pryor said. The problem is with the defendant, the city of Chicago. Pryor said the mayor is responsible for ensuring that the police department meets its deadlines with quality reforms by allocating enough resources to make it possible. The mayor has the process to move this, has the power to move this process forward with the urgency it deserves, Pryor said. Those comments drew a strong private rebuke from Lightfoot to Raul. Your person didn't just say it was slow. She mocked my announcement from earlier this week, called me out by name and said the city is intentionally foot dragging. I know you're pissed at me, but throwing gasoline on a raging fire is stupid and irresponsible. If you actually wanted to discuss the consent decree process, I would have expected you, as the leader of your office, to actually reach out to me. I have had zero engagement with you, so the comments today were ridiculous in light of the lack of engagement by you personally. And
Jerry,
Raul responded,
Jerry,
I fully expect you to do
Please drink
that.
some water, Jerry.
I will communicate as well. I have my Arizona.
We don't want you losing your voice, Jerry.
Yeah.
Right?
We need
It's
you
doing
here.
a number on it.
Don't listen, Jerry. If you're gonna do an impression of me, you better make sure you're doing it right. Stay hydrated. But I hate Chicago Corner. All of you should be canceled.
So here's what Raul said to her. I mean, I want us to talk about this, but the substance of what's coming out in text is just so very fascinating, being a fly on the wall of this. So Raul defended what Pryor had said in court. He said to Lightfoot, I don't believe anything that my lawyers conveyed was a cheap political shot. There have certainly been some things that I have endured that I would consider quote unquote cheap political stunts, Raul wrote. However, it is in my opinion to make certain that the integrity of the consent decree process is preserved. Lightfoot ended the communication with more admonishment. This is silly, Kwame. The shot was cheap, unnecessary, and highly irresponsible for the chief law enforcement officer of the state. Yes, I disagree with some of the things your folks have done and written with zero consultation. I've been very upfront with you directly about that. Sorry if you're offended.
God, if her skin was any thinner, it'd be
Right?
transparent.
Right? She'd be a
No,
white
no.
woman. She wouldn't be a woman of color. She'd be a white woman.
She'd be translucent.
She'd look like one of the aliens from Close Encounters. You could see through her.
No, like you know those statues that they make in health class that are kind of where you can see through the thing and see all the body parts and musculature and stuff
Yes.
coming through.
Yeah.
That's how transparent.
Some of Lightfoot's comments to Raul mirror exchanges she's had with other officials, including Pritzker, whose office she blamed for negative media coverage. It's Pritzker's office's fault she's getting negative media coverage, not her own damn mismanagement of the city.
Well, Jerry, I think maybe she just wasn't getting enough office time that day.
In spring of 2020, for instance, Lightfoot texted Pritzker a Sun-Times opinion piece with the headline, Mayor's gaffes won't help Chicago get a lift from Pritzker in Springfield. Super helpful, she wrote. Pritzker responded, Mayor, I didn't write this, nor did I foster it. I get bad press too. The mayor texted back, it's your people. This is very clear. I would never do this to you, but now I get the rules of engagement.
Now, hold on. Here's the thing. Edward, I just want to confirm something. I saw a recent Twitter link that you just posted. Is there any way you can verify this other link right here? Because if this is a direct email,
Oh, the email? Yeah, that's a real email.
that's a real email.
Yeah.
Jerry, do you
Something in the Slack? I didn't see it yet.
no, it's actually in the private
from,
chat.
okay.
From late January.
Okay.
So this is legit.
That's legit.
Oh, I can't wait. Ooh.
Oh God. All right, pull it up.
It's like
Are you serious?
All right.
it's like club remix time in the Lori Lightfoot emails here.
You got to be kidding me.
All right,
I've
so
read it.
Okay. I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to. So I know I'm going to bring it up. Let me bring up the. So wait a minute. So the tweet says, shocked to find out Lori Lightfoot is like this. Shocked. Whoops. Sorry, guys. So this is from Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Since my prior requests for office time are routinely ignored, I am now resorting to this. I need office time every day. 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 That goes on for another. Yeah, that could be a rap beat. I need office time every day. I need office time every day. I need office time every day. Not just once a week or some days, every day. Not just once a week or some days, every day. This is like a rap song. Breaks your transition times between meetings are not office time. Breaks your transitions between meetings are not office time.
Wait
If
for
this
the drop.
doesn't change immediately, I will just start unilaterally canceling things every day. If this doesn't change, this is you're right, kid. She's a fucking child.
Wait, hold on. Wait.
Have I made myself
We'll
clear
have to read
finally?
Saturday.
Have I made myself clear finally? Have I made myself clear finally? Have I made myself clear finally? That goes on for 20 repeats.
Even here's the thing. This is a direct insult to Lori Lightfoot, but even Trump would write a more coherent letter than this. This is right now the ravings of someone who is
Good
not
question.
fit for office.
For someone who would routinely complain about Trump, she's not that far out of the same.
No, she's exactly the same. But see, here's the thing. I think
two narcissistic sociopaths.
Yeah, the only difference is I think Trump could write a more coherent letter than this one, and just leave it as that. Like basically, Trump would just give a middle finger or say "F you." This is Lightfoot. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that you see from a 5-year-old or some kid that's very upset and writing to somebody they don't like I don't like you, I don't like you, I don't like you. This is a mayor that's supposed to be in charge of what? 2.8 million citizens in the city of Chicago. She is not fit for office. She's got to go. She's got to be elected out. She cannot remain in office.
Dad, you got to get a sense of humor if you can't enjoy our SNL comedy here. And not that we're trying to do SNL, but
well, actually, hold on, wait. In our defense,
if we weren't laughing about this stuff, Dad, we'd be crying.
In our defense, it's these jack-off politicians that are doing this.
Yeah,
is it?
Dad, we're just covering what Lightfoot. That's an email from Lightfoot.
That's an email from Lightfoot right there.
Right there.
She did it to herself.
So I might be like mocking her in it, but this is whether it's her or whether it's President Kofifi, who we had that one time on Twitter with his mistyped Twitter Kofifi. It's like narcissistic, sociopathic infants. I love this from Kathy Powers. Was she on her back on the floor, kicking her legs up like an infant? I can only imagine that she was.
Probably so.
Or texted this. Maybe she was on her back texting this in her email or composing the email on her phone. It's astonishing. Thank you, Eric Tino Diaz. It's better than SNL. Nope, not our mayor. Anyway, yeah. So, I just thought that particular commentary from last week's Tribune in response to everything that the Freedom of Information Act requests that have taken a year to fulfill for the Sun-Times have exposed. So one more thing about the consent decree, though. Since the hearing more than a year ago, the police department has increased its rate of compliance with the consent decree, missing fewer deadlines in recent reports and coming into at least some compliance with more than half of the provisions reviewed so far. Department leaders have stressed that it takes years to comply with a consent decree. But the city's sluggish pace and ongoing concern that the department's efforts aren't trickling down from paper reforms to practical implementation have drawn criticism from activists and civil rights lawyers. Some reform advocates have pointed out that the roughly 52% compliance rate is still off the mark. High-ranking city employees have said the department focuses on checking boxes over ensuring the results are substantive. A Chicago civilian police leader tasked with making reforms wrote to Lightfoot as he resigned last year that the officials failed to even, quote, feign interest in pursuing reform in a meaningful manner. Lightfoot's former public safety advisor, Susan Lee, similarly raised concerns about the department's ability to keep moving the ball forward as she resigned. There you have it. I had one more story I wanted to cover here that wasn't in our the subject of our show header.
Honestly, I want to go. If there's ever a point where I want to go back in time, I wish I could just go to 2019 and violently shake myself and say, "Hey, dude, you're interviewing somebody who's a downright sociopath and has the mentality of a 5-year-old." When I interviewed Lightfoot, I never expected the kind of policies that this mayor would be implementing, the kind of personality that she really had. This is a mayor that's giving a big middle finger to all the people that live in this city. She doesn't like us. She doesn't think about us. She only cares about what this will do for her career. And if she is reelected into office, that will open a door for her to get involved in politics at a higher level. And we cannot have this kind of person with this kind of thin-skinned mentality to be in office anymore. There has to be overwhelming campaign to get her out of office.
I hadn't even thought about that. I hadn't even thought about the possibility she has aspirations to higher office than mayor of Chicago.
The danger that, well, there is a real clear and present danger. And if, let's say she doesn't choose to go for higher office, let's say she's part of a think tank or some kind of lobby group that could be influencing future Democratic lawmakers, we cannot have, she has got to go.
In response to Eric Tino Diaz, yes, she's still keeping the vax mandates.
Yeah, it sounds like they're going to try to wind them down toward the end of the month like the state is doing, but for some reason they're dragging their feet on the whole thing.
She's got to go. She has got to go. She is by far the worst mayor of our city. I know Daley and Rahm Emanuel got their fair share of skeletons in her closet, but all this kind of stuff that's coming out about Mayor Lightfoot, it's evidence for me. She's got to go.
She's having a nervous breakdown. So, Kathy, I got your poem. I'm juggling a lot of stuff in email. If you can, send it to me right now. I'll close out the show with your poem. I just can't go search my Chicago Corner emails because I'm getting barraged with stuff by people. So, but yeah, send it to me and I'll read it after this last story that we cover. So Kathy also says, yeah, she does have higher aspirations. She schmoozes with Hillary. Yikes. That's poison. Although I think that any aspirations Hillary might have to run again may be derailed by this new revelation that she hired people to break into the White House. What was it? The data? You guys talked about this, didn't you?
Actually,
I know it's been breaking the past couple days, but
we haven't got a chance to cover it at Hard Lens, but we are going to be talking about it soon.
Yeah, that Hillary may have done commissioned a guy who's in deep duty.
Hillary committed a crime
with the feds right now for getting information off of databases that he shouldn't have gotten while he was supposed to do other work.
Hillary Clinton committing a crime. I would never think that. No, not Hillary. Never. Not Hillary. Not Hill Dog. No way.
Trump wins and jails her. I hope. I'm torn. I don't like Trump, but I don't like Hillary. But unfortunately, we're going to just see another repeat of what we had before. Yeah. And she's going to be a 3-time loser. She's going to really fulfill the definition of a 3-time loser. All right, let me get into the last story because this story really does demonstrate the tone deafness of our officials. So, Bronzeville leaders did not want a casino at Michael Reese development, but Chicago's first casino could be next door. Some neighbors are worried building a casino at the old Michael Reese site would negatively impact an already vulnerable community. Others say it's a, quote, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that would bring good jobs. Okay, so for those who don't remember, the old Michael Reese site was originally proposed as the site for the Olympics that the city lost the bid on. So that's been like dead property for how many years now? Over 10 years, I think, since Daley left office. Because they tore Michael Reese down, I think, before Rahm went into office. So it's well over probably 15 years. Now, when this headline says it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that would bring good jobs, are those temporary good jobs really worth putting a casino right at the border of a community where people would probably routinely go and gamble away what little money they have in the hopes that it will take them out of their current dire circumstances while enriching the city and the casino owners? Is that really smart?
No.
The temporary influx of jobs. So and this comes to us from, and I've always been against casino in downtown Chicago. It's fucking nuts. You want to go gamble, go out to the airport. There's a casino there. The idea of putting a casino in Chicago to attract tourists is also going to attract the most desperate and vulnerable people that are in the city to go gamble away what little that they have and cause more strife, more desperation in these neighborhoods that the city and the mayor has already turned their back on to begin with. They want to put it into a casino instead of investing in the communities, instead of opening more schools, figuring out how you can invest in communities to create more jobs aside from a fucking casino. But, sorry, I digress. Bronzeville. Some Bronzeville leaders are pushing back against the prospect of having the city's first casino as a neighbor. The city unveiled 5 potential casino sites in November. 4 are clustered in the near north side, including one at the McCormick Place marshalling yards at 31st Street and One at the McCormick Place Marshalling Yards at 31st Street and Lakeshore Drive, near the old Michael Reese Hospital. See what I did there?
I saw what you did there. Jerry.
Alderman Sophia King of the 4th long has opposed a casino anywhere on the South Side, previously saying it would be like putting a casino in Harlem. But King and others are particularly alarmed by the site that's been proposed near the $3.8 billion Bronzeville Lakeville megadevelopment on the Michael Reese site, a project King has insisted would not include a casino. The Bronzeville Lakefront project sits just north of McCormick Place and stretches from 26th to 31st Streets between Lake Park Avenue and Martin Luther King Drive. It also includes the Prairie Shores homes near 29th and King Drive. Leonard McGee, president of the GAP Community Organization and member of the Michael Reese Advisory Council, said community opposition to a casino dates back decades and has not wavered. Residents who have attended community meetings made it clear that this is not what they envisioned for the neighborhood, he said. So quite naturally, that's why they want to force it forward or keep pushing for it. McGee and others are worried a casino would lead to increased crime and gambling addiction. That's the key thing. Gambling addiction, counteracting all the community hopes to accomplish with the Bronzeville Lakefront project, which received key city council backing in July. Though adding to the city's revenue base is a key part of the Bronzeville project, so is improving the quality of life for an area that has had to fight for everything it's received, McGee said. Now there's a rendering of what's being it's a Bally's. It's a Bally's casino that they want to put there. I find it very conflicting that this city has agreed to the Michael Reese development of the Marshalling Yards with another project, but now wants to put a casino in that same spot, McGee said. When people want to make money, they'll do whatever is necessary to run over somebody who doesn't have money to make the money. It would be a detriment to Bronzeville. 3 mayors have worked to overhaul the Michael Reese property, which the city bought after the hospital closed in 2009. Mayor Richard M. Daley envisioned the 48-acre site would be the home of the Olympic Village for the 2016 games.
Oh, thank God that never happened.
Right?
That was so naive.
Boy, did we dodge a bullet. Boy, did
we did. Oh my God, did we ever?
It would have created jobs. Yeah, and it would have pockets
for
of everybody.
like a few months.
Yeah.
No. Any city that's ever hosted the Olympics suffers financial hardships afterwards and very rarely recovers.
The land was also floated.
At least with, sorry to interrupt, but
least
with a casino, the casino's not going away after the Olympics is over. So, at least, there's going to be some jobs that might stick around. But yeah, it's not worth it.
Dude, they're not making enough money from the traffic cameras all over the city. They need to generate revenue from people gambling their savings away. And where does it all go? When we hear Chicago doesn't have any money, we're broke. The land also was floated as a potential home for Amazon's second headquarters. I remember being happy when that got torpedoed. Mayor Rahm Emanuel selected GRIT, a development team led by Chicago-based Farpoint Development in 2017, to repurpose the site for the Bronzeville Lakefront project. The first phase includes building a biomedical research facility, a welcome center, senior housing, and a public park. The Singer Pavilion would also be repurposed, and developers are weighing plans to relocate the 27th Street Metro Station to 31st Street. There's a rendering of what that would look like. The project is expected to take 20 years to complete and could include 7,000 units of homes, 8 million square feet of office, retail, and research facility space, and 10 acres of parkland and open space. Chicago mayors also have long worked to build a city casino. Daley created a gaming commission 30 years ago to explore the possibility of bringing a casino to Chicago in hopes of boosting city revenue, because they just haven't boosted everyone here enough for it. Property taxes, traffic cameras, eyeing several centrally located sites, including one near McCormick Place. Daley's plan stalled in the face of opposition from the members of city council. Hey, at least they were right then. And the state legislature. When he tried to resurrect it in early 2004 with the help of the city's tourism board, he was thwarted again, this time by then Governor Rod Blagojevich, who promised to veto any casino bill that crossed his desk. Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a casino expansion law in 2019, allowing Mayor Lori Lightfoot to lay the groundwork for her plan. A few weeks later, Lightfoot announced the former Michael Reese site was one of the 5 potential casino locations on the south and west sides. But Lightfoot also faced opposition out of the gate. King ruled out Michael Reese, saying she wanted to preserve that land for Bronzeville Lakefront project. Alderman Pat Dahl III dismissed a casino at Pershing and State, saying she wanted a grocery store there. We reported this past Friday on the fact that I think, which community was it? Garfield. I want to say Garfield Park. They have no grocery stores because one was shut down because of rat infestation, because we have food deserts all across the south and east sides. And thankfully, Alderman Pat Dowell is like, yeah, why don't we put in a fucking grocery store first? A state-hired consultant said none of the proposed south and west side sites would draw enough tourists due to the perception of those areas as unsafe. Well, that perception would go away the more and more you gentrify those neighborhoods and drive people farther south and west, right? That's how you deal with that problem.
Yeah.
King's stance has not changed. She said she still has concerns a casino would lead to increased crime. Although research has not consistently shown such cause and effect, she also worries about the casino's impact on local businesses. Gambling impacts under-resourced communities, King said. Crime goes up. Small business suffers. Because visitors are patronizing on-site retailers, it would be a detriment to Bronzeville. I mean, I could go on and on. The story's linked below. You guys, your thoughts?
There was a point where I would agree that maybe a casino being built in this city could help. But, one of our viewers did type in, and I want to make sure I credit the person who said
let me look at the live chat because I was reading from
Eric Tino Diaz says, gambling addiction, and this is very serious here, folks. Gambling addiction is as bad as alcohol and drug addictions. And the thing is, in a city right now that's struggling with our public schools being, again, attacked by this mayor and her administration. The fact that we have, again, unchecked corruption. I could see this casino at it being, it's like gasoline being poured on a wildfire. It's only going to make the problem far worse. I think a casino would be a bad idea at this point.
Well, I think that the heart of my argument against casinos forever has been gambling addiction.
Yeah.
Because people who don't have the opportunities in these blighted communities.
Yeah.
Look, you want to know what I'm talking about? Go into a 7-Eleven to buy a sandwich and see how many people you've got to stand behind who are buying lottery tickets before you can pay for your sandwich and leave.
Yeah.
You see it. The lottery that was supposed to pay for this educational budget, right? All that money was supposed to go to the schools, and poof, that went elsewhere. A lot of good comments in the live chat. Reopening closed schools. Yeah. And she also said, give the people COVID relief with the funds instead of paying banks and cops. Yeah. That's where most of those COVID funds went. Neither a nice idea. It would be great to have an accessible, affordable community there.
Yeah.
Dad says pay off pensions. Well, Dad, rightfully, that is a contract completely violated. Let's talk to Kwame about that. In CA, we let the Native American California tribes run the casinos as a form of reparations. Hey, you want to let casinos come in? Why don't you let the residents of Bronzeville run those casinos?
Bally's will love that.
Right?
Bally's would never let that fly.
And what's worse is there's no effective treatment for gambling addiction.
No.
All right, so let me go into my email and see if Kathy sent me that poem so we can close it off. I haven't forgotten about it, Kathy. It's just I keep getting distracted by other things. All right, here's the poem that Kathy sent me, one of our regular live stream contributors, and she's also sent a lot of stories and some guests our way as we were handling some health stories last year. I'm opening it right now, Kathy. Give me a moment. Here we go. In my Microsoft Word. This is by Kathy Powers, copyright Kathy Powers. And I'm saying that because it's my understanding that some people have violated Kathy's copyright on some of her IP and sold mugs or other things with stuff that she's written. All right, let me bring this up larger so I can read it. Okay. This is Kathy's poem, and it's called Not Our Babies. It's finally, and it's dedicated to the Chirads and all the students who walked out of CPS on January 14th, 2022. It's finally back to school. We've been holed up and buried our dead, forever bound by COVID surges. Lightfoot prepared her testimony. The schools are safe as she installed unopenable windows at a Rogers Park high school. Go back to school, the blame and shame, Mayor decreed. The schools are safe. With unvaccinated teachers and students, no soap supplies, and knockoff HEPA filters. She decreed, expect some casualties. It's because of the expect some casualties. It's because of the teachers, the bully mayor ordered. In-person learning will prevail. I care about your education. The nervy CTU demands remote learning. I hold hostage. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I should do this in Lightfoot voice. I care about your education. The nervy CTU demands remote learning. I hold hostage your laptops, remotely lock out disobedient teachers. I've been perfectly clear. The schools are the safest. Homes are the spreader culprits, not our Aramark clean schools. We sickened and died from COVID. We no longer hear false school bells. Not us, our babies, or our parents. We walk out. Thank you, Kathy Powers, for sharing that and allowing us to share it here on Chicago Corner.
Be sure to check out the rest of Cassie's work as well. So there we go, folks.
Oh, the solution for gambling addiction is called socialism. Laugh out loud. All right, guys. We're going to close out the thank you. I've been working on it.
That was Oreo right there in the back.
Yeah, Oreo approved. Kit, anything you want to share from Hardlands Media? I know you shared something prior to the show. I'm not talking about. I don't know when you're going to make that announcement. Do you want to?
Oh yeah. Well, we got there's a work on getting a guest. I'm also trying to reach out for a few other guests to be not only on Hardlands Media but on Chicago Corner. More on that later. I actually wanted to talk to you about that before the show, but looks like
difficulties.
Yeah. So there we go. We got Oreo there. Oreo, don't worry. You'll be included in the conversation too. But everyone, be sure to check out Hardlands Media. We're live every Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Central Standard Time on YouTube, Odyssey, and Rockfin. A lot of great stuff's happening at the studio and some more stuff that we will be able to share on Chicago Corner once I get the green light from Daniel and the rest of the team. Otherwise, we got some great stuff. Can't wait for it.
I'm excited. Ed, thanks for your triumphant return tonight. It's good to have you back commenting on all these crazy stories we talk about.
I'm happy to talk about the insanity that goes on in this city, and I'm glad to join you guys on this wonderful program.
Does this guy have the pipes for radio or what? Hey, what's happening at the radio station? Ed, are you involved with what Laney's doing right now? Or?
I am not currently involved in the goings-on at World Perspectives Radio Chicago, although I did create some top-of-the-hour promos a little while ago, and I think they're still running on the automated version of the station. But I can tell you that our good friend Lainey Peterson does a show on Saturdays. I believe she's doing it from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And you can go to World. We don't have that website yet. It's 99perspectives.tv, and if you go to the menu, look for World Perspectives Radio, and there will be links to the station, which streams live on the Live 365 platform, but you can also play it right off of that page. And so Lainey goes live Saturdays, Chicago time, 11 a.m. And you get to hear her mess with the buttons and play her favorite tunes and talk about Chicago things and other things. And she's gathering up more people to do shows on that platform. And if you're interested in that, you can get in touch with her. And I think she's got a link on the website, but if not, you guys can jump into the Discord and send us a note if you want to do a show. It's gonna be good because this is just the beginning, guys. This is where 99 Perspectives and Hardlands and Chicago Corners start taking over the city. It starts with
taking over
media revolution.
It starts with streaming the commentary and talking about stuff going on in the city and communicating with people all over the place and eventually getting ourselves a terrestrial broadcasting tower, which would be cool, and then doing all those wonderful things to get the word out to make sure that independent voices have a place to go.
comes from the live chat. All for Nothing 388. Lainey Peterson is the most underrated woman in independent media. She is, and I hope to have her back on the show sometime soon, either doing Civically Minded Chicago or bringing whatever else she wants to talk about.
Yep. So there we go, folks.
All right, guys, I want to thank you both for joining me tonight. And to the rest of my audience, I want to thank you all for joining me on another Tuesday night edition of Chicago Corner. Remember to stay safe this week. We'll be back on Friday with other developments as we follow the news this week. Please be careful out there. Be safe. Watch out for each other. Be vigilant. And remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner. Good night, everybody.